Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of Udbhav, a social entrepreneurship series. Our guest today is Mr. Pratik Gauri. He is the Indian president of Fifth Element Group, a global management consultancy. India host of TV shows FinTech TV and The Impact. Global youth lead of Dream Tank, worldwide 1 billion youth movement. Co-founder of Let's Do This, India's flagship GTM engine. Alt Control, a blockchain-enabled platform. Hashtag Let's Go Social, a creative marketing agency. India Needs You, a leadership movement. Glastic, a zero-waste B2B glassware solution brand. He has held executive positions with Tata Group and is also a distinguished IIFT alumni. Considered a global youth icon, Mr. Pratik Gauri has represented India at prestigious platforms like World Economic Forum, Skoll World Forum, Nobel Peace Prize Forum, United Nations, Unleash Innovation Lab, where he has also won gold and opportunity collaboration in Mexico. He founded his first startup when he was 16, and since then, he has founded 8 startups in the 5IR Space Championing United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. He has been helping Fortune 500 companies go from for profit to for benefit. This, according to him, is the fifth industrial revolution. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time for gracing us with your presence. So, sir, can you please give us an insight about your first startup experience? What encouraged you to come up with the idea of a social startup, and how do you think it is different from a conventional profit oriented startup?
So thank Tashi for this kind introduction. Going back when I was 16, so that was the time when I founded an education consultancy company. The idea was very simple. It was basically, most of the people around me I was kind of very fortunate to attend good schools, and as you know, like I studied at IFT, so all of us are very fortunate to kind of attend good schools, but a lot of young kids around me were not as fortunate as we were. So I probably, when I was 16, I thought there's a huge opportunity to kind of lift those people up in terms of helping them become like we are, or maybe, because there was a single tagline that I used to use when I was 16, that talent is equally distributed, but opportunities are not. So most of us have great opportunities, and that's what gets us where we are. But probably we have great talent lying in rural India and so on and so forth. So the idea was to basically equip them with the leadership toolkit. And also, if you see India as a whole, 70% of our population lies in the rural area. So until we lift them, we can't really grow as an economy. It can't be just people, privileged people, or elite people kind of leading the economy. So that was the idea of profits and purpose kind of was I what I call the fifth industrial revolution. So I saw that once you try if you try to lift people who are not as privileged and try to help them usher a good economy, then you kind of also end up making more profits and more revenues. And that's what I think I've been trying to promote. It started my journey with my first startup, and since then I've kind of been involved with a lot of companies and kind of started a lot of startups. Founded 8 startups until now in the last 10 years and 10-12 years, and it's been an exciting journey in terms of doing that. So the first company, as you asked, was in the space of education, primarily for the reason that I saw a lot of kids around me not being very educated, and they kind of were very ambitious. So the ambition was there, the talent was there, it was just about an opportunity. So I gave them an opportunity to kind of apply to good schools, and a lot of the kids that we taught there ended up even going to Ivy League schools. So that kind of gave us the confidence that it's a model which can actually work. But I ended up selling that company when I was 21.
That was a really nice gesture, sir.
Thank you.
So, you are an active proponent of fifth industrial revolution, which believes in generating profits through the intersection of profit and impact. So, can you brief us on the concept and the principles of the fifth industrial revolution?
So if you see fifth industrial revolution, I was saying is about using. Okay, so let me start with fourth industrial revolution. So currently we are on the fourth industrial revolution, where you see all sorts of frontier technology kind of ruling the world and kind of trying to help us in a lot of different ways. But what I've realized, and kind of you guys have realized it too, is that fourth industrial revolution has technologies like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain, 3D printing, and so on and so forth. But and there is no doubt about it that they've kind of helped us a lot, but they've also created a lot of problems for humanity. And when you see the COVID crisis, when you see the health crisis, when you see climate crisis, when you see global warming, when you see women not participating in the workforce despite them being 50% of our population, when you see young people and not even having access to good education, when you see people not having access to clean water and sanitation, that kind of tells you that although we have those kind of technologies, but they're still not benefiting humanity as it should. And until we actually benefit humanity, until we kind of lift people, we can't really grow as an economy. So the idea was to basically use technologies created in the fourth industrial revolution and use them for the benefit of humanity. And once we do that, we kind of end up lifting the bottom billion people, and that kind of ushers us into the fifth industrial revolution, where we can kind of work at the intersection of profits and purpose. So now when I say profits and purpose, I kind of had the privilege of kind of working with a company called RB, which is a Fortune 500 brand. And when I worked with them, I realized that they spend like millions of dollars into marketing, but they're mostly pushing dollars into social media or celebrities or ambassadors. The same happened when I worked with Tata Sky, which is again a large company. So I realized that there are a lot of marketing dollars there, but they're kind of not being used for social impact. And I kind of came up with the model: if you can kind of use those marketing dollars for social impact, then you can probably end up giving more profits. The brands end up making more profits, but most importantly, it lifts people. It actually turns consumers towards the brand. So think of as an example of a brand like a Dove from Unilever trying to market itself by lifting people, by kind of doing some social impact activities. If you do that, it ultimately it still gives you the top of the mind recall of the consumer. It still shifts those consumers to you. It gives you additional revenues, but it also creates impact on the ground. So that intersection of profit and purpose is the first tenet, what I call the fifth industrial revolution. The second tenet of the fifth industrial revolution is what I say gender equality, which is SDG 5, Sustainable Development Goal 5. So, as you know, 50% of our entire population is women, but not all of them participate in the workforce because of a conservative attitude that we've had for long years. And until we change it, I don't think we can actually usher a world where we are really creating value. So I think gender equality would play a very, very big role in terms of participation of women has to play a big role. And not just saying participation of women just in the formal workforce or in the boards, but I'm also talking about women who stay at home, housewives. If they can get into starting startups or doing something which they're good at, then they will also contribute to our economy. So that was the second tenet uh, of the fifth industrial revolution. The third tenet is more about working around United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I use that as a framework or a language to kind of communicate with companies and with entrepreneurs. So that's more about 17 sustainable development goals that the United Nations has come up with, and we have to achieve that by 2030. It has goals like gender equality, quality education, clean water and sanitation, um, uh, energy, affordable housing, partnerships, clean water, and so on and so forth. So if we can help expedite progress towards that by 2030, I think this decade, if we can help achieve United Nations Sustainable Development Goals through businesses, then I think that would really help us usher a world towards the fifth industrial revolution. And the fourth and another important tenet of achieving or helping expedite progress towards 5IR is going to be creation of omnivins. So when I say omnivins, I spoke it at World Economic Forum in Davos. I've been kind of being traveling the world, and I've been kind of trying to propagate what I call omnivin solutions. So omnivins are kind of bringing the private, so four silos together. So the first silo, what I say, is the private sector silo. And you guys are studying at one of the premier institutes, you kind of realize that most of the people that you interact with, C-level people, they kind of work in a different silo. But if we can, so that's one silo. The second silo is the government or the bureaucrats. The third silo is ultra high net worth people, celebrities, billionaires, and so on and so forth. And the fourth is social entrepreneurs like us who kind of have an ability to create impact on the ground. I realized that if we can bring four of these on the same table and kind of create an omni-win solution and roll it out, it can really lift millions of people, and it can help you create millions of dollars in revenue. So you're kind of hitting revenues, you're kind of making money, but you're also helping create impact. So that those are the four tenets I think we need for the fifth industrial revolution. If we can kind of work over it, which I've been trying to do since the last 10 years, I think it really would not only help the environment, not only help people, but also give boost our economy.
That is very true and a very practical solution if we look at it. So on the lines of sustainability, like sustainability has become the new buzzword, and the concept of EU taxonomy is also emerging a lot. So what do you think should be the approach of Indian entrepreneurship towards achieving these UN sustainable development goals?
So yeah, sustainability, as you say, is kind of the buzzword, and it's the buzzword just because people now are starting to realize. So when I say people, think of it from different stakeholders. Imagine if you are a consumer, if somebody tells you that this is people want to drink a healthy juice, they don't want to drink a Coca-Cola anymore, right? That's the consumer mindset shift. So the consumers are demanding products which are sustainable. Consumers realize the value of a sustainable housing. Consumer realize the value that climate is really not the way it should be. Consumers are realizing that if we keep using non-renewables, it's going to run out. We need to start using renewables. Are realizing slowly that and top level CEOs are realizing that we don't bring women into the workforce, we can't grow as a company. So these are the kind of real, and COVID-19 has kind of expedited everything. So I think this is real. This has made sustainability a bigger buzzword as it was last year, because I've been trying to work in this space for 10 years. I haven't seen so many people talk about sustainability as they do now, and that's primarily because COVID has taught us that you might end up having a company which creates crazy profits. But if you see right now, most of the companies which are getting valuations, even if you are a hardcore capitalist, you see just valuations and revenues, there are companies which can really create positive social impact. Those are the kind of mindset shifts that are happening in across sectors, across all sectors, whether it's FMCG or pharma or health tech or edu tech. So it's happening across all sectors, and most importantly, it's kind of impacting consumers. And if you're building a company, you ultimately have to satisfy your consumers. If the consumer wants a product which is sustainable, then as a CEO or as an employee in a company, you want to create that kind of product. So it's coming from the consumers, and it's now navigating across the C-level chain, family offices, billionaires, celebrities. Everybody is now endorsing those kind of products. Everybody wants to create bring electric vehicles to India. So those are the kind of mindset shifts, and I think the next 50 years, and especially this decade, belongs to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I think if entrepreneurs work towards one of the SDGs and kind of create companies, they're going to be quickest to become unicorns. So even if your goal is ending up to creating a lot of assets and money, you're still working in the right space, because that's the space which has the most money. And then it also impacts the environment positively. It also impacts people positively. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. It's a win for consumers. It's a win for an entrepreneur. It's a win for the government, because they would happily adopt such a solution. And it's a win for the ultra high net worth people who are investors or venture capitalists, because they're investing in a company which would give them crazy returns in 5 years.
That is true. That is very true. And this terminology of win-win-win is actually very nice, and it is something that should be implemented. That is what will actually take us long term, I think. So since we talked about COVID, so since startups have been the worst affected sector during this pandemic, what do you think is going to be the future startup space in India? Like, how will it be in the new normal?
Well, I think the biggest advantage a startup has is to pivot. And I'm a big proponent of kind of shifting models if one is not working. So if you have a startup which is kind of working working in, say, hospitality space, which is really doing not doing very well because people are not traveling, people are avoiding going to restaurants and stuff. A lot of my friends who are entrepreneurs kind of started different startups, and they started to really get crazy valuations. And so it's like, and even if you're running within the same startup, you can actually diversify. So I think most of the entrepreneurs know the would want to diversify their businesses when it comes to COVID. Some sectors are very severely affected. There's no doubt about it. But some sectors are even doing well, because if you talk about e-commerce has just gone crazy, right? Like everybody's ordering online, nobody's shopping offline, and so on and so forth. So if I have this tagline which I used to I kind of use whenever I go and speak. It's like startups might fail, but an entrepreneur never fails. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a C-level guy, or if you're somebody who's kind of building a company, your company might fail. There's no doubt about it. And these are external factors like COVID. If you're into hospitality, you can definitely go from low revenues. But I'll still tell you, startup founders are still being supported by Sequoias of the world and other venture capitalists, because they know that it's going to like go boom, like right once COVID kind of thing settles down. And I think COVID is actually teaching us a lot of things. It's teaching us to respect the environment. It's teaching us to kind of build businesses in the impact space, which is a need of the hour anyway. So I think it's a blessing in disguise for a lot of people. It might seem like, oh, I used to hit a revenue of $5 million, I'm back to $1 million in COVID. But I'm telling you, in the long run, it is ultimately the pivots that people are making right now are beneficial for the environment, which is going to give long-term returns. So I think in the long run, COVID is going to be, I think, one of those crises which we're going to remember as a blessing in disguise, where you kind of ended up companies, some really amazing companies would start this year, which you will see in 5 years becoming unicorns, and really helping the environment, really shaping the way the planet works, really shaping the way people work, and kind of helping usher us towards a better world.
Yeah, we really, really hope that is the case. So, lastly, what advice do you have to give to the budding entrepreneurs who now look up to you, like with the agenda of dream big and achieve bigger?
Well, okay, this is kind of a, one big thing which I've kind of followed in my life is dream big, and don't let anybody shatter your dreams. And I'm saying not even your parents. So a lot of time, parents, when you're studying at a business school, and you guys are from that background, you end up paying a lot of money for education, and you're on loans, and a lot of people kind of are not supported by their parents. But even if you think there's an idea, this is the best time. COVID is the best time, and if you're in your 20s, it's the best time to kind of execute an idea and fail. And I'm saying fail. Even if you fail, you would have learned so much, so much more than you would have anywhere else. That you would finally get up and do another startup. So, I mean, I was speaking at IIT Delhi, and there was this kid who asked me, 99% of startups fail. So you're probably in that 1%. What about those other 99%? I said, look, determination and perseverance is the key. If you are perseverant, if you're determined, then probably you're going to be in that 1%. And even if you fail, as I say, startups fail, but entrepreneurs never fail. So you're going to still come up. You're going to still build another company which is going to be successful. It can be 3 failures, and none of the entrepreneurs, by the way, which you see who are really successful, there's been none of them who has not failed. So you will fail, but the point is you'll still get up. So I think the first advice is dream big and follow your passion. Don't let anybody shatter that. The second is be perseverant, and believe in yourself. I mean, if you don't believe in yourself, the world won't believe in you. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, there weren't many supporters, but now I have so many supporters. So as you go along the journey, you find a lot of investors trying to support you. You find a lot of mentors. You find a lot of people, kind of friends supporting you. But initially, it's hard. But the point is, you have to kind of take that leap of faith. And if you're in your 20s, right, I think this is the best time ever to start a startup, and especially in COVID, a lot of people have kind of lost their jobs, and I think there's no better time than this to kind of start a company and kind of do something really big which you've always wanted to do. So my advice would be to entrepreneurs would be to kind of think about starting up, and think about dreaming big, and starting a business on those lines.
So, thank you so much, sir, for your time and patience for answering all our questions. We hope that you continue inspiring a lot of people, not just towards entrepreneurship, but towards entrepreneurship for a cause. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you so much. It was great speaking to you.